It's your weekly dose of feeling good. 2NURFM's Health Naturally with Dennis Stewart.
And good afternoon to you, Dennis. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well indeed. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Today's program, another action-packed program. What have we got coming up today?
Well, look, I thought we'd take up the topic that seems to be on everyone's mind at present, and that is the topic of how effective are complementary medicines. I'd like to take this topic up because the media recently has been hinting that aspects of complementary medicine are invalid or ineffective, overused, exploited. Let's take that topic up.
Yeah. Now, of course, a lot of flack in the media at the moment regarding this whole herbal part and, herbal medicine. Why are they attacking it, so to speak?
Well, I don't know if we'd call it an attack. I think more of a questioning. I think that the questioning is taking place largely because more and more people in Australia and indeed all around the Western world are accessing, utilising what we call complementary medicine, which embraces herbal medicine. And there is still a large percentage of people in the academic world, in the professional, medical and pharmaceutical world who question this and are a little bit worried about it, thinking that the basis of this drift towards complementary medicine is unfounded, that there's no basis to it. Well, of course, for 40 years I've been practicing complementary medicine, majoring in herbal medicine, and if their criticisms are correct that herbal medicine is ineffective, I'd like to know what I've been doing for 40 years. Constantly and practicing for so long.
Yeah, what have you been doing, mate?
What have I been doing? And we get, as you know, we get no government support. We are a private industry with our own associations, our own code of ethics, our own registers. So the effectiveness of complementary medicine, and particularly herbal medicine, in my view, is well established now, and it's too late, in my opinion, to cast aspersions on herbal medicine, particularly that it's ineffective. In fact, it's very effective, and my career has not only been associated with proving the effectiveness of herbal medicine to address modern health problems, but of course in educating practitioners, medical, pharmaceutical, naturopathic practitioners. I've been educating them for many, many years of my life, even under the auspices of this university, in how to use herbal medicine professionally, understandably, and with a modern scientific interpretation. So I'm a little bit worried that late in the day aspersions might be being cast on my profession. I tend to think it's too late, and I have no doubt at all, that in the future medical practitioners, some of whom may study medicine at this university, will be offered at least an elective in complementary medicine. Many medical practitioners already, even in this state, some in this town, utilise herbal medicine in their own practices. So it's difficult to see modern medical practitioners using herbal medicine unless they have confidence in it, understand it, and are prepared to defend their use of it. I know, for instance, gastroenterologists occasionally will recommend the herb slippery elm for managing various gut conditions. And this is done not just on a women fancy, it's done as a result of understanding that the basis for prescribing and using herbal medicine is very sound. The empirical basis, that is the historical basis for using them, is there. Herbal medicine is the oldest system of medicine known to mankind, but also modern herbal medicine is well documented with literature that is credible, medically based, scientifically based, chemically based, and a good indication of that would be the British Herbal Pharmacopoeia, which is the Bible of modern herbal medicine. The use of herbs today is credible and beyond doubt effective, and it ill behoves anyone to cast aspersions, carte blanche, on herbal medicine, suggesting that's ineffective. I suggest that's pretty well an outdated approach, that history flies in the face of it, and the acceptance of complementary medicine, particularly professional herbal medicine today attest to the effect, or to the fact that it is effective.
Yeah. Well, you've given us 40 years of it so far.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
It might be coming to an end.
I don't think so, my friend. Well, you've given us the examples, and we see it every day in practice of how just yourself, this does work.
Look, there's no doubt about it. I could say, as a quick response to people who say that, complementary medicine is ineffective, I would say people are voting with their feet. People do not use these things unless they get results. Complementary medicine is not cheap. We get no support from government. Our medications generally receive no support on the pharmaceutical benefit scheme. So everything we do is not supported by government, and yet people vote with their feet, access these things from both professional practitioners, from pharmacies and from health food stores. So that in itself is a classic support basis for saying Australians aren't fools. When they're using these things and purchasing these things and depending on these things, they must be doing so because their investment in them is worthwhile. Yeah. That's my opinion.
Yeah. On a particular TV program, a bit of a questioning of herbal medicine. We're talking about that this afternoon amongst people's calls on 49216216. You've given us examples. You've been practicing it for 40 years. It doesn't really make sense, does it?
Well, I think I watched that program, and I know the program you're referring to, and a lot of it I entirely agreed with. I think my general statement would be this, that Australians take too many things. They take, in my opinion, too many pharmaceuticals, particularly over-the-counter pharmaceuticals, and they may well indeed take too many over-the-counter complementary medicines. And I took that as being the thrust of the program. That doesn't negate the benefit of over-the-counter pharmaceuticals or over-the-counter complementary medicines. I took it in that way rather than an attack per se on the existence of complementary medicine. As I said earlier in the segment, what's known as complementary medicine, which embraces herbal medicine, nutrition, and all those other things, it's too late in the day to think that they're going to be marginalised or unaccepted or wiped out. It's too late in the day.
Yeah.
The rate at which people have accessed these things has surprised everyone. In fact, it was the American herbal writer and author Stephen Foster who many years ago used the term the herbal renaissance, and he spoke about the phenomenon that occurred beginning in the 70s with the counterculture, admittedly, where there was a remarkable acceleration of interest in traditional medicines and particularly herbal medicine, and that led to the flourishing of herbal medicine throughout the Western world and including Australia, where Australia, by the way, is one of the leading nations using Western herbal medicine and leading, in my opinion, leading the world in the high-quality production, particularly of herbal medicine.
Yeah. All right, let's head to the phones. David, you're from Windale, and you've got a question regarding blood thinners and bruising.
Yes, please, yes.
Hello, how are you?
Good afternoon, Dennis. How are you?
And what indeed?
Now, Dennis, I had heart failure last year, which I've sort of got over,
Yes.
but I'm still on medication.
Yes.
But, I've spoken to my general GP.
Yes.
Now, I bruise very easily,
Yes.
and also, if I bump myself, I start bleeding. He explained to me that I'm only 65.
Yes.
But he said, as you get older, your thin gets skinner. I understand that. But, this constant... both my hands are sort of really black.
Okay. Is this only since you've been using the blood thinners, so to speak?
No, Dennis, I've been on blood pressure tablets all my life.
Okay, but blood thinners?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the bruising that you're experiencing now is just it's been there for a very long period of time.
Yes, it has, Dennis. And also, when I bump myself, like I do a bit of gardening, I bump myself on the branch, start bleeding. It just...
A couple of things I'd suggest here, and you should indeed mention them to your GP. If you were to look at the literature, you would find that a group of substances known as bioflavonoids contain the ability to lessen what's called capillary fragility. Now, capillary fragility would be a good way of perhaps explaining what's happening to your skin. The small blood vessels have become a little bit fragile, and a bump can precipitate a bleed or superficial bruising. One of the bioflavonoids is called rutin, R-U-T-I-N. It's well known. It's available both in health food store products and also in pharmacy products. It's very well known scientifically that it's a remedy that has multiple benefits, but very useful in addressing this bruising phenomenon. Even the substance buckwheat has a reputation, when used medically over a period of time, of helping to address this problem, because it is a natural source of rutin. So my initial suggestion would be that run it past your GP. I'm sure there would be no interactions there, but he would be the best to make the assessment that either using buckwheat from your health food store ongoingly as a daily medication, in the same way that some people might use, say, Metamucil for their gut, buckwheat taken as a food daily can also be useful in giving a good dose of rutin, or get a bioflavonoidal preparation where rutin has been isolated from its normal form and put into a convenient pharmaceutical form. That would be what I would suggest. The other thing, of course, is that with bruising, topical applications, and when I say topical applications, these are applications that are applied to the skin. The topical application of the herb arnica is very, very useful for helping resolve bruising, but arnica should never be applied to an open wound or to a bleeding surface. It's useful in addressing bruises and contusions, so long as the skin has not been broken. So there are two little ways of looking at the problem: the bioflavonoid rutin and the topical application, say, of arnica, might be useful.
Now, if I come into your surgery at Lambton, would you someone would advise me? I won't go to my normal chemist. I'll come to you, because this is ongoing. It's a little bit, because I wear short sleeve shirts and my hands are all bruised, and it does get a little bit embarrassing. And then if my dog jumps at me and he hits me with his nails, bang, I start bleeding.
You're in trouble again. Well, look, certainly one can make no promises, but if I was in that situation, based on what I know about the bioflavonoid rutin, I'd be prepared to give it a go. But again, you owe it to your GP to let him know that you've had a discussion and that you would like to utilise this bioflavonoidal approach. Would he be prepared to monitor it?
All right, thanks so much for your call, David. Glenn from Belmont, you've got a few neck issues, mate.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hello, Glenn.
Yeah, hi, Dennis. Mate, I just got a question regarding, I've got, I suppose you could say, a chronic neck problem.
Yes.
I'm 55 next month, and I keep fairly active, have a surf and that. Every time I have a surf and come in, I've got this neck pain. I've had it x-rayed, and the reason I'm ringing is one guy up the beach said he had some success because he had bone spurs or something in that area. And he went to Visionary Health at
Hamilton.
I'm just wondering, is there any herbal substance you can take to sort of alleviate these spurs? Or?
Okay. I've always addressed spurs using a Blackmore's celluloid or mineral approach. Now, let me just explain what I mean by that. Blackmore's, this wonderful Australian company, was founded by a Morris Blackmore, who's passed on, of course, and he developed a therapy based on the use of minerals, and those minerals became known as celluloids, Cellulloids, and I prescribe them frequently in my practice. Now, when we look at spurs, in the Blackmore's prescriber, the literature that I use, spurs are addressable by two minerals or two celluloids. Both of those celluloids are as follows. One of them is called silica, but it is a particular form of silica. It is what Blackmore's would refer to as the celluloid form, and it has the code S79. And I say that because these are products that practitioners prescribe, and they have a coding that makes it easy to look at them in the repertory. Silica in that form, in conjunction with an accompanying mineral known as sodium phosphate, which is abbreviated as SP96. I have seen in my many years some remarkable, and I mean remarkable, resolution of spurs. In fact, I have said it on my programs for years. Some of the greatest skeptics of my system of medicine have been converted to it by virtue of seeing spurs progressively, in most cases, not in all, but in many and most cases, resolve as a result of taking those two minerals over a lengthy period of time. SP96, S79, they would be available from my rooms at New Lambton. They need to be worked with for a period of time, but in the interlude, what I'd also suggest you do is to give you some relief when you get out of the water and shower. Use that topical application known as Stiff, Sore and Sorry.
Yep.
That's a beauty.
I've tried that. It gives some relief, Dennis, but while we're on the topic, I've also got in the heel something called planticus.
Yes, plantar fasciitis. Plantar fasciitis.
Yeah. That's got to do with spurs too, hasn't it?
Yes. Well, this is where I mainly use those remedies in addressing that particular.
I've got the heel and the neck going on, mate. So
you're in a bit of trouble there,
mate. If we clear that up, I'll get you to come on the program. But look, the good.
And listen, while we're on the topic of doctors and stuff, like I've been to my GP about it, and his recommendation would have been take Panadol Osteo, which, to my way of thinking, I don't want to do that. You know. So, it is important work what you're doing, mate.
Well, that's great. Panadol Osteo is a good pain relief medication, so your GP is right. But I take the other view that it's worthwhile giving a shot at trying to address it differently. I make no guarantees, but there would be people in this town that could vouch for the benefit of that treatment in removing their spurs.
Curry, and June, you've got a question for Dennis?
Yes, good afternoon. I get a lot of information through the mail telling me that if I buy this and I buy that, I'll have wonderful health in a very short time.
Yes.
Now,
that's nonsense.
That's what I'm worried about. But one of them is Alanra.
What's that?
It's Alanra.
I'm not familiar with that.
No.
How do you spell that?
ELANRA.
Okay.
And apparently you switch it on while you're asleep and it makes you breathe better. It does all this for you. It's over $1,000 to purchase.
Well, look, to be fair, marketing of health products these days, both conventional and complementary, is multifaceted. So whilst I'm always a little bit sceptical about material coming through the mail, to be fair, one can't write off the benefit of things simply because the information comes through the mail. So with reference to that product, what I would be doing is reading the information. I'd go and have a word again with your GP.
Okay.
If you're going to spend $1,000, you need to be confident that it is relative to your condition and that it really does help. Now, as I say, I don't know anything about the product. It is probably an ethical product in as much that if it is used for a health purpose, I would think that it would have had to have been listed by the Therapeutic Goods Administration. Now, I can't say yay or nay to that, but products in this country that purport to give a therapeutic benefit have to be listed with the Therapeutic Goods Administration.
Right.
So a couple of things. It could be a very, very good product, and I don't want in any way at all my comments to be seen as negating it, but in as much that you're going to contemplate spending $1,000, I would suggest you do what I've said. Have a yarn with your GP, see whether the product is listed. In other words, familiarise yourself with it, and don't just go and spend $1,000 just like that. It's too hard to get.
What about Ocean D3 tablets?
What are they?
Ocean D3.
I've never heard of them.
No, see, that's something else I've had, and also a product called Meristem, which comes in a bottle, and when they wrote to me about Meristem, this is the 3 different companies. The Meristem, they said that they had a bottle put aside especially for me.
Oh, for you.
Oh, yes, I know. And I
So
thought, that's wonderful, but I've never heard of it. But it told me that,
Well, look, I think
I'm 75. I'm not a youngster.
Well, you and I are the same age, so there we go.
Right.
But look, what I would say is, you and I, at this stage of our life, hopefully have got a little bit of wisdom and common sense.
Yes,
So
well, I certainly hope so.
You know where I'm coming from. In other words, I tend to share your general scepticism about claims that are made for things. A healthy scepticism is survivalism. But having said that, accept the fact that marketing and the sale of products of anything these days will involve techniques such as marketing, like putting stuff in your letterbox, television, etc. But any health claim, in my opinion, has to be validated, and a good way of validating it is to talk with your GP, talk to your pharmacist, talk to your natural therapist, and see whether or not also the product has been listed with the Australian Therapeutic Goods Administration.
Good on you, June. Thanks so much for the call. As we go to Margaret in Wickham. Good afternoon to you, Margaret.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Margaret.
Hello, Dennis. How are you?
I'm well indeed.
Dennis, what do you know about CLO tests?
CLO?
Yes.
Well, what does it stand for?
Okay. Well, that's a good question. What I'll let you know is that I had a colonoscopy.
Yes.
Which was fine.
Yes.
But the biopsy was taken. As a result, the CLO test came back positive.
It's a test for a particular organism.
Yeah, and it's been suggested an eradication therapy of Nexium HP7.
Yes.
And I just wondered whether you know an alternative to that.
Look, to be fair, Nexium is standard, very safe medical treatment.
Is it?
I would have no problem at all in persons utilising that, particularly with the advice and management of their medical practitioner. If that is the treatment for that condition, I would accept it.
Oh, okay. So go ahead. I just wondered if there was another alternative. But if you suggest that,
I would indeed.
Well, that's fine.
If that is the treatment, the medical treatment for it, you stunned me for a moment. I just couldn't put together the abbreviation. But of course, I would run with the medical approach. I don't think that you have any other options.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for that.
Pleasure.
Okay.
Thanks, Peter from Fassifern. You've got a question regarding gallstones.
Oh, yes. Good day, Denis. How are you?
I'm well, Peter. How are you?
Good, thank you. September last year, I had a bit of a funny turn, and all things happened to GP, and we eventually got round to having some scans on the stomach area.
Yes.
And a more the second one on the pancreas area.
Yes.
And it appears that I have a gallstone of 1.7 centimetres, so it's not a small one.
Yes.
And they couldn't get to the bile duct when they did a ultra scan to see if there was anything in there, because the stone was shadowing it, apparently.
Okay.
Now, I've spoken to my surgeon fellow who's done other stuff for me.
Yes.
And I'm 78 years of age.
Yes.
And he said, well, the bile duct coming out is not a problem. Not the bile duct, the gallbladder coming out is not a problem.
Yes.
But then they would be able to see, that's done with a laparoscopy type operation, I think.
Yes.
And he said if they do find, when they go and they take some pictures and they find that there are stones in the bile duct, that they have to do a more open type surgery.
Yes.
Now, I haven't had an ounce of pain or anything with it.
Yes.
But the only thing that's indicated is I get a bit of a rumbly tummy every now and then. And what's the situation I'm in now? He said, well, he couldn't see the worth of opening it up and doing anything because I'm not really suffering from it.
Yes.
My question is, we're waiting for 4 months now. We're going to have another ultra scan.
Yes.
Chug along. Is there anything that may help that system down there that I could take? Or
well, fortunately these days, as you've said, the management of gallstones, in my opinion, has come a million miles in a generation, in as much that laparoscopic surgery has revolutionised the procedure, and it's a very safe procedure. My wife, in fact, has had the procedure. It's interesting. I also know a colleague who is in fact older than us, and she'd be well in her 80s, and she was diagnosed many years ago with a single large gallstone, which to this day remains there, and she has not had any subsequent major episodes. So my response to this situation, and I'm not a gastroenterologist or a GP, but at this stage of our lives, I think sometimes leaving sleeping dogs alone or lie is not a bad principle, albeit there's a couple of things. Herbalists for generations have recommended a regular use, believe it or not, of two simple things, and that is lemon juice and olive oil. Now, I know that sounds rather funny, but it is funny. But the idea of that is to lessen the viscosity of the bile.
Yeah, fair enough, yes.
To promote its freer flow and to lessen the likelihood of inflammatory activity occurring. So the old herbalists swore by that technique. In fact, there was an English herbalist called Frank Roberts. He was a fascinating guy, an Englishman, practiced in the south of England. He was an eccentric like most herbalists are, including myself. But he swore by the olive oil and lemon juice treatment. Now, I think he went over the top, but what he was trying to say was that there are two foods that might be useful in maintaining the healthy state of the gallbladder and maintaining an even free flow of bile. Not a bad principle, in my opinion.
Well, I like the idea of not doing anything at this stage.
Yeah.
The only thing is every now and then I have what I call a spongy day.
Yes.
I feel like I couldn't be bothered wanting to do much and bits and pieces. And that's the days that tummy may rumble a bit. But I, strangely enough, take a quick ease, chewy, and things change.
Well, the other thing to realise also is that another very simple herb, one that's not used enough medically, is the herb peppermint. Now, peppermint in European medicine, and I emphasise European medicine, not naturopathic medicine, but mainstream medicine, peppermint products are used to address what might be referred to as a grumbling gallbladder. And peppermint has both a spasmolytic and a sedative effect on the gallbladder, and particularly any spasm or contraction coming from it, and also it is an anti-nauseant, so it tends to lessen any sort of sickliness or nausea or any bilious type symptoms that might come from it. So what I'd suggest you do, particularly on those days when you're feeling, you could be better, is think about using a bit of peppermint tea, and of course in European herbal medicine, the herb dandelion taken regularly as a beverage, and you can get from your supermarket, you can get Symington's dandelion tea, I think they call it these days. It used to be called dandelion coffee, but Symington's dandelion tea, a very pleasant drink. Dandelion is renowned for its supportive benefits on liver function and gallbladder function. So there's a couple of little things. Start to use a little bit of lemon juice when you get up in the morning. It's a good principle. I recommend it to many of my patients. Squeeze a lemon, add an equal amount of warm water with it. Good way to start the day. And across the day, accelerate your use of olive oil, a little bit of peppermint tea if you're feeling a bit off, and rather than use straight coffee all the time, a couple of cups of dandelion coffee across the day.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
And it's cheap, and there'll be no offence there to your good surgeon or to your GP, because these things are foods. But you Google up and read up on what I've said, and you'll find that there's pretty well universal agreement on the stuff that I've mentioned.
Oh, that's wonderful, Dennis.
Good on you, Peter. Have a good weekend, mate.
49216216.
Now, if you have got a question, we've got a couple of minutes remaining. 49216216. Now, don't forget, you've got two practices, Dennis. You practice at two spots, 39 Alma Road, New Lambton, and also at Cumberland Street, Cessnock.
Yes, Cumberland Street, Cessnock. I've been there for quite a few years now with my associate, Sally Bowen. The practice there is known as Bowen's Natural Therapy Centre. It's in Cumberland Street, just up from Goldman's. And Sally Bowen is a remarkable identity in Cessnock, very highly qualified person in therapeutic massage, in the Bowen technique. And Sally studied herbal medicine with me and graduated through my school quite a number of years ago. And when I finally retire and stop practicing, I'm sure Sally will keep practicing in Cessnock and take over from me. But I've said on this program before, and I'll say it again, Cessnock people are blessed to have a practice run by a woman like Sally Bowen, called Bowen's Natural Therapy Centre in Goldman Street, provides a whole range of health services, osteopathy, nutrition. We've got a great, lovely lady there, Cassandra, who's the nutritionist. So for people in the district, take note of it. I'm there every second Tuesday of the month.
You get around, don't you, my friend?
I used to get around a lot more, but I'm not wanting to get around as much these days. I'm quite happy these days to sit and meditate, write books. I'm working on my book. And
so it's coming along very well.
It is indeed. I have a colleague of mine in the Atherton who used to coordinate all my Melbourne seminars for me, and he has edited the text and is putting pressure on me to go through it and do the final corrections. So I'm working on that.
Now, I'll give you a little bit more pressure.
Yes.
When's the due date?
What's that for?
For the book.
Oh,
when am I going to get the Denis Stewart to Colin Parnell sign book?
I have said to him that it will be finished certainly in second semester. See, I still talk in academic terms, but second semester should see the text ready, and you'll be one of the first to get a copy, seeing you're such a good guy.
Well, thank you very much. Good on you. Have a nice weekend. You'll be back next week to do it all over again. Don't forget you can catch this program on a podcast at 2NURFM.com. Ran out of breath there.